Hello, welcome to a Volo's Monster episode of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast where one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey and I'm proud to say my guest for the entirety of this series is none other than Abby from Tabletop Curiosities. Hello, Abby.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we put this series together after you were like, we should do this, that would be fantastic. We both love Volo. And then we needed a couple more and you said, Connor, I'm sick of working with you. Can you figure some creatures so you've got some kind of input into this rather than
Do some work for once, you know what I mean?
rather than like riding your coattails, I've got to, put the effort in. So this week's episode is on Cranium Rats. Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is on Cranium Rats, Wizards of the Coast listening device rodent that hears all of your heterosexual thoughts. I'll be uncovered in chocolate and whistling down cabs. Is this appropriate behaviour as a police officer? What am I doing?
As a police officer, yeah, probably. Yeah, I think the rest of them would pat you on the back for that.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most sane thing I've ever written and probably the most sane answer you could give. So, yeah, it's nothing weird for a policeman to do something like that, is it, these days? Um,
Yeah,
Right, with this one, as I've selected this, you're asking me the questions, so you really are taking over. You'll
I'm
be the host of
hijacking
the
the pod.
podcast. Yeah, 100%. When I go on holiday, it's all in your hands.
So, why did you choose Cranium Rats?
I chose Cranium Rats. Guys, we're being on the. It's actually instantly like pressure. I can't believe I've just put people through this for 2 years. I chose Cranium Rats because I thought one, it's kind of like a bit of a silly creature. It's not a giant rat. It's not doing anything overly fantasy. I kind of like the idea that rats are intelligent anyway, but not in D&D. And I love the idea that
Hmm.
just literally someone has just thought in a book somewhere, just give them a brain, even though they already have one. So I love the idea of that on like outside of D&D, and I actually liked using them. So I guess we'll get to that. But yeah, I think they're a fun creature. I love swarm creatures, and we'll also get to
Hmm.
that with the DM question. So that's that. Stat blocked wise, um, absolutely useless creature. 12 AC, 2 HP. So regular rat.
Yeah. And it's
But
like you
that,
say, it's interesting because in society, we see rats as quite intelligent. Like we have
mm,
the whole like lab rat situation. They're quite intelligent creatures, but -3 when you've just got one rat.
yeah,
-3
-3.
intelligence.
What I love about them and what I love about swarm creatures, well, why I picked it, is I always set it up in the same way. It's always with obviously a different group because it's a bit of a one-trick pony. Is you have one of them and then they go, brilliant, let's kill that. And then it's a swarm of, it's like three of them, then it's seven of them. And it's a bit like a joke of like, the babushka dolls
Yeah.
where like it just keeps expanding. And I love that kind of thing where people think it's going to be easy and you're going, this is just a waste of my time, but I'll just keep swinging or doing whatever and wasting spell slots. Um, and I love the fact that it isn't smart, it doesn't do anything special, but given its lore of kind of being used by mind flayers and whatnot, and anything that's kind of like created these rats to use as almost like telepathy devices or listening devices or sight. Even if it's not a mind flayer, these rats can still exist once they've been created because they don't have an owner anymore. So then they have a different stat for when they're intelligent, which is not actually in a Volo's book, it's in a later book. I like the idea that if they are set free, they kind of become more sentient. So you could do that with
Yeah.
like role play. You could do it with a bit of an NPC thing. If someone could speak to animals, this creature could be like, "Well, I'm lucky. I'm happy I got out of that situation I was in. I was terrorizing people with a swarm of
Yeah.
rats." Like,
Full
10...
chat.
yeah, and I absolutely love that.
And obviously those stats kind of increase once you've got them in a swarm as well. And where these ones have that mind flayer influence, they have like spell casting and things like that as the swarm, which is very interesting for a rat creature.
It is. It's kind of like going back to one of our previous episodes about the cave fisher. Is like it's something that you think you might not have ever come across it before. Obviously, you've probably come across a rat in your life, even if it's just knowing of it. So you know how to act around it. but then it does surprise you with, oh, this thing does more than we expected, And I kind of like that, even if it's just a bit of a hurdle, like an easy hurdle to pass. What I think is really good about the Cranium Rat, though, is that they're because of their ownership from like a Mind Flayer, for example, they have a lot. If I look at this stat here, they've got like they've got bite as a singular creature, but their traits is like illumination. So as a bonus action, the Cranium Rat can shed dim light from its brain that it's been given, or extinguish light, and has telepathic shroud. So the Cranium Rat is immune to any effect that would sense its emotions or read its thoughts, which seems a bit like okay, it's a rat, but its whole point of it is to be the spies, a bit like Saruman's crows. You do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you're trying to like, right, if we follow them back, will lead us to this. They're literally their entire ability is to just stop you spying on the spies. And I
Yeah.
actually quite like that. It's a bit of a literally a cat and mouse game, I suppose.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, literally human, like party and rat game. So,
So, how does a DM use a cranium rat in their game? You say
so
they're spies. Is that the best thing?
I actually do think it is. You can do that one trick kind of babushka doll joke. That's just an ongoing thing that I do for myself. Um, but I used it by kind of how you spoke earlier about using a creature. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't the Babao. It might have been the Banderhob. Where it's kind of like, it has an item of yours, so it knows to be hunting you.
Yeah, the
Um,
Banderhob.
the
Yeah,
Banderhob, like in a previous episode, I used it in the same kind of way where it wasn't an item, but you're in a busy, bustling city in a fantasy like medieval world. There's gonna be rats, there's gonna be goats, and things like this kind of traders passing by like rotten food. So the rat's completely unexpected, and all I'm not describing to the party is that it's got this weird extra kind of like gigantic, like humongous brain sticking out of its skull. And so they go, yeah, it's a rat, don't need to kill that. And if they do, they just killed a rat. And actually, it's just gathering all this information on them. So I like the idea that they'll probably ignore it, and it might seem like a misstep as a DM to not give them that. But then later on, when that BBG or whoever's using these cranium rats literally deals all of the information they know about the party, that's great because the party spends most of their time outside of combat prepping. Like they're prepping, they're planning all their schemes to take this thing down. You're listening to it as the DM, but now you've got an NPC who can use it rather than your party go, well, that's just you metagaming as the
that's it.
DM.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
really like that. That's what I did. A bit like Dishonored, that kind of thing of like rat control. Um, that's how we used it.
yeah. I love that because it is that sort of unassuming thing, but that's great storytelling that later, when you realize the thing you didn't really pay much attention to actually had a really important piece of
Mm.
information you could have learned. I love that sort of thing, and I love missing it and finding
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
later as
That's when I'm like,
well.
oh my God. You always kind of, even if you're not the kind of person, you assume that you're the kind of person who's always aware, especially when you're in a game where like it's just at the table. I'm absorbing everything, or like, I've been doing this for years, and it was literally something as simple as that, and you're like, oh, I've been robbed, but now I need to get this guy even more. I need to stop her even more because
Yeah.
I've been had as a player, let alone as a character.
That's it. You know when your DM's tricksy. It
Yeah,
only takes a few of those kind of things for you to think, I'm gonna get you. Next time you pull
100%.
out a rat, I'm investigating its brain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100% do it. And there'll be like 50 of them. So they'll just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's
Well,
perfect. You've given an example of how you've used it. So that's the end of me hijacking the questions.
hijack away. Yeah, sorry, I'll literally just go on. This is why I host it because, if I say my little bit and then I don't talk forever, which is what I would do, which is what I've done. So I'm sorry.
Perfect.
All good. Right. Well, usually we kind of end with a quote from Volo. So do we have one for the Cranium Rats?
We do, and as usual, he's got his stomach in mind. He's saying, I wonder what a mind flayer brain tastes like when installed in a rat.
Incredible. There we
Not
go.
nice, I bet.
I
Not
can't
nice.
imagine. I mean, surely you'd be worried that you would be infected and then become an elifid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or
Like,
at least poisoned in some
yeah,
way.
you'd be like, that's
Like,
not something I should be touching, really.
nah.
Well, okay. Well, thank you very much for hosting that. Appreciated. Let's get to the outro. Today's adventure has slightly come to a close. We're back again next week with the topic: does the Christmas spirit have a stat block? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And also check out Black Mark Clo on Instagram for cool D&D clothing. Abby, where can we find you and what do you do?
I am a dice maker. You can find me at Tabletop Curiosities, TikTok, Etsy, Instagram.
Thank you very much. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Abby.
Good day.